Okay, good morning, everyone. So we are in the middle of Perek Zayin Mishnah Aleph. And we'll just read from the beginning of the Mishnah quickly, just so that we continue with the second half of the Mishnah. So the first half of the Mishnah read Klal Gadol Amr B'Shviyas. An important rule was said regarding Shviyas. Koshu Machal Adam, anything that is human food, or Malchal Behema, or animal food, or Miminat Seivim, are used for dyeing, to dye things. The Einem Iskayim Ba'aretz does not endure, last while still in the ground. Yesh Shviyas, it has the sanctity of Shemitah, the Damba of Shviyas, and the money you exchange for it gets the sanctity of Shviyas, of Shemitah, which means we know you're restricted in how you can use the food or the money. Yesh Beer, the law of beer, where something is not available for the animals in the field anymore, that's something you have to take out of your house and declare it ownerless. The Damba of beer, and anything you exchange for that, also beer has to be performed on. So these are the four conditions to be able to have kedusha of shemitah and to have obligation for beer: human food or animal food or dye stuff, and it doesn't last in the ground. The first three are the things that you need to have the sanctity of shemitah, and the fourth, which is whether it lasts in the ground or not, makes the difference whether there's beer or not. If it does last in the ground, it means it's always available for the animals in the field. There is no obligation of beer on that type of food. If it doesn't last in the ground, which means it will run out for the animals in the field, then there is an obligation of beer that you have to do. Now, the continuation of the Mishnah are examples of all of the categories. The Ezeh. So which is this? Meaning examples of the categories. So the first category is being mentioned. This is the human food. The luf hashaita. Luf is a type of an onion, and it means in this context the wild onion, the wild type of luf onion. Vale hadandana, leaf of mint, ha'olshin, endives, vacration, leeks, vaharigila, some type of a vegetable. The art scroll, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, but they spell it as Portulaca. Portulaca. Vanetza chalav, which is translated as the milky blossom. These are all examples of human food. Now, the commentaries point out that the examples being brought here are examples that are being brought because there's something novel about them. And if we go through each example, it works like this, or at least the ones that are explained by the Mefarshim, the commentaries. This luf hashaita, this wild luf, is actually not considered food in a different area of halacha. There is an area of halacha that is called tumas eichlin. We talk about tuma, tahara, ritual period impurity. So food can become impure, it's susceptible to tuma, but it has to be a food. And luf hashaita, this wild luf, is very bitter, and in that state of bitterness, it's not really edible, and therefore it is not considered food in regard to tumas eich, in regard to the laws of tuma in regard to food. But Hamish is telling us that when it comes to shemitah sanctity, it is food. So even though now it's bitter, being that you could prepare it in a way that it can become edible, for shemitah laws, it is considered human food, and it will possess the sanctity of shemitah. That's what it comes to. This is how the Batura explained the example, the chiddush, the novel, why the Mishnah included the novelty of the luf hashaita, of this wild luf. Then the Mefarshim talk about the ulshin and the creation, which are the endives and the leeks, and explain that actually you've got, again, a wild variety and a garden variety. Now, in irregular years, the garden variety is what people typically eat, and therefore the wild variety is not even considered food. It's not considered food for tumas eichlin. But during shemitah, where you don't have the garden variety, that's when the wild variety becomes, people eat it. And during shemitah, that's when it becomes a food. So during shemitah, it will have the tuma, it will have the law of food. It will have the law of food to become tamei, and because it's shemitah and it's food and it's human food, will also have the sanctity of shemitah. And the same thing for the creation. That's the leeks. The first one was endives, the leeks. You got a garden variety, a wild variety. Any other year, the wild variety is not considered food or during Shemitah because that is when people do eat it. It is considered food, and therefore it would have the tumah of food, and therefore it also food to become tamei, and it also will have the sanctity of Shemitah. The other examples, which was the mint leaf, the regila, and the neitzachal of the milky blossom explained in two ways. It's either a plant with flowers which are as white as milk, or it's a plant which releases a milky fluid when it is cut. But they don't explain what the novelty of that is. And there is a Rashi that is brought in early out of Ram that explains that some of these foods, at least, I mean, we gave specific explanations for some of the examples, but it could be that for other examples, the explanation is, as there is a Rashi that seems to say this about maybe all of these examples, some of these examples, maybe that's the way Rashi learns it, but Rashi brings down the idea that these foods are only occasionally eaten by humans. They're not your typical human food. They're occasionally eaten by humans. Sorry about that. These foods are only occasionally eaten by humans. And therefore, nonetheless, the Mishnah is teaching us, even so, it is considered food for the sanctity of Shemitah. And therefore, it could be the other examples like the mint and the milky blossom, again, were foods that were not typically eaten by human beings. And nonetheless, since they're occasionally eaten, the Mishnah tells the next example is the animal food. And for that, the examples given are which they translate as thorns and thistles. What's interesting about these examples the Pharisee brings down is that this was typically animal food for camels, not for all animals. Nonetheless, it's considered animal food to have the sanctity of Shemitah. And then the next example, the last example, minat sevin, the type of things, plants that are used for dyeing. Sviche isatis, they translate that as the growth of isatis. They call it the growth of isatis is because it seems that this isatis has a root, and the root produces leaves every year. And therefore, it kind of resembles sviach, if you remember. Sviach means aftergrowth, things that grow on their own. So we call it the isatis aftergrowth because these leaves are produced from the root on their own regularly. And it was these leaves that were used for the dyeing. And as we said, plants that are used for dyeing resemble eating because the Torah tells us what you eat has sanctity of Shemitah. It doesn't have to be literally eating; it has to be similar to eating. Anything that you get its benefit as that you benefit from it, and while you benefit from it, you destroy it, you eliminate it. That's similar enough to eating to have the sanctity of Shemitah. So plants that are used for dyeing, so you would put the food into the dye, and you would there's a plant is in the dyeing pot, whatever you want to dye the garment. So as you're dyeing the garment, that's when the plant is disintegrating. So therefore, it's similar enough to eating to be able to say that it has the sanctity of Shemitah. So that's the first example. Tzvicha isatis, the isatis plants, the kaitza, and the kaitza they translate here as safflower. So these were the past two examples when it came to dye stuff. Yesh lam shvius, all these things mentioned, all the examples mentioned have the sanctity of Shemitah. The plants themselves sanctity of Shemitah. The mayan shvius, and if you now exchange money for these plants, for these things that grow, their money will have the sanctity of Shemitah. Yesh len beer, all these examples are things that do not last in the field all the time, and therefore the law of beer applies to them. The mayan beer. And anyone you exchange for these plants, they also the money will have the law of beer. That when the plants are no more available in the fields, now you're going to have to take that money to use for that kind of plant and render it worthless. Okay. Now we have the Sefer HaMitzvot. Okay, Mitzvah Sanach Gimel, Mitzvah 63 in the Chavetz Chaim's Sefer HaMitzvot. Mitzvah Asay Lo Hashiv Ma'ashkein Le'Ba'alov Beis Tzarchai. Pasuk commandment to return a pledge or collateral to its owner when he needs it. meaning you have taken collateral from someone for money that he owes you. And the Torah says you got to give him back that collateral when he needs to use it. Shemar, as the pasuk states, "Hashev tashuv lo yasa avayit." You shall surely restore to him the avayit, the pledge, the collateral. The echad hamamashkein chaveru bebezdin. Whether you took the collateral in a basin or in a court of law, or you didn't take the collateral through bezdin, you took it either forcefully, meaning against the borrower's will, which halacha has certain cases where you can do that, or the borrower gave him the collateral willingly. In all these cases, chayiv bazeh, one is obligated to fulfill this mitzvah of returning that object when he needs it. So, for example, if you took his pillow for collateral, you got to give it back at night if that's what he needs to sleep on. Or let's say he took some kind of vessels that he does his work with, some kind of tools that he does his work with, or clothing that he wears by day. You've got to return it to him in the day for the entire day. So basically, the collateral is the idea that this guy doesn't have you're holding some of his things, which he's not pleased with. But at the end of the day, when he needs it, you got to let him use it. One who transgresses does not restore, does not give back the collateral in its proper time. He has disobeyed this positive commandment, and also transgresses a prohibition in a prohibition, which we'll get to when we go through the section of the prohibition. So a person who doesn't return the collateral disobeys a positive commandment and transgresses a prohibition. Have a wonderful day. All the best.